We've been on some field trips that weren't very enriching, but were definitely memorable. But today I want to share about a field trip to the Ringling in Sarasota that was both beautiful and meaningful, even if I didn't exactly know how to quantify what we learned. I'm Hope, and these are my kids, and we're the Forever Learning family. So when we got back from our field trip, somebody asked us, "What did you learn?" And the kids couldn't answer anything, and I couldn't answer anything. So of course, the homeschool guilt and the mom guilt just stacked on. And I was like, my whole educational philosophy is a sham, and we just wasted our day. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized we learn a lot just by going to beautiful places for the sake of beauty. Just because we can't quickly measure progress that happened in one day doesn't mean that it didn't change us, maybe even forever. Here's a list of ways that the kids grew that day, and that I grew too, without even knowing it. The kids learned earth science and grew in physics knowledge as they played in water and sand, forming dams and digging channels. They also grew in communication and cooperation as they would tell each other things like, "Water coming! Can you dig a path connecting these?" and "I'll get the water next." They also got a little glimpse into geography and historical architecture, and my daughter asked me, "What style is this building? Do you think it's Moroccan?" They worked on artful composition and honed their photography skills as they borrowed my phone and took pictures of what they found beautiful. We took a Skillshare class last week on photography, and they were excited to use what they learned when we went to the Ringling. They learned about botany and dendrology as they examined various types of plants and trees, especially the banyan trees, which are so cool and scattered all throughout the estate. They learned 20th century history as they viewed circus memorabilia and saw inside a luxurious train car. They got to see a woodworker at her craft. They enjoyed physical exercise as they ran and frolicked on the grounds and at the playscape, which, by the way, is amazing. They grew in the skill of observation as they paid attention to details such as the carvings on columns and the decay of pots and fallen flowers and all kinds of other things that I didn't even notice. They learned art history as they examined paintings and sculptures from all over the world. We talked a little about theology as we discussed paintings portraying biblical stories in Christ, and we lamented racial inequality in the whitewashing of European art. And yes, we learned some anatomy from the naked statues that I rushed them past. Adventures like this feed the kids' desire to wonder and explore. That's something that I never ever want them to lose, and something that I'm fighting hard to fuel in myself as well. It also ties into my theology of heaven, but that's another talk for another day. We also talked about the importance of creating things that add a lot of value to people, but also the great risk of thinking that wealth and success can satisfy you. We don't know much about John and Mabel Ringling, at least not from this visit, but it's not our job to judge their character anyway. But we've been to enough rich people's estates to know this. It's not worth it to gain the world if you lose your soul. As much as we enjoyed visiting their mansion, which would have cost $21 million in today's money, and their luxurious train car, and their massive private art collection, and just the beautiful grounds and gardens, I would hope that if we ever happened to earn that kind of money, that we would give sacrificially to the poor. When looking at opulence, it's hard not to think about all the needs that could have been met if only the rich wouldn't have made such impressive floors. Stewardship matters. That said, to be put in front of beauty like this really is life-giving. Mabel Ringling's rose garden has so many different varieties of rose that it makes me wonder, why, God? Why did you have to make so many colors and shapes and smells of this single flower? He's lavish and overflowing in beauty. Anyway, yes, we did learn a lot, and it was all accomplished in less than 4 hours, and that's not even including all the stuff we've done in previous visits. Their interactive circus museum is really neat. Plus, thanks to our reciprocal membership to the Edison and Ford Winter Estates, it cost us $0 to do all this. Our foot traffic benefited the museum, and our interest in the gardens and art was a blessing to the staff. None of us realized we were learning or growing so much, but we most certainly were. 2020 is a great year to see every inch of life as a classroom. Gorgeous museums and gardens tend to be particularly helpful to this end. Thank you for joining us, and tune back in for more from the Forever Learning family.